Guys, in this video I wanted to take a few minutes just to show you how to install a doorknob. For any of you guys that have never done that, do not be intimidated by your household repair projects or anything like that. You know, usually your doorknob sets include everything you need. This is one of the double sets here that you can get. It's generally a good idea to try to get your sets to match. The keys, have all matching keys on your sets, and you know, when you go to your home improvement store, they can help you decide exactly what you need. Of course, here, this door, it is drilled for a deadbolt, and if you are doing a replacement of some existing hardware, it's basically the same process. I'm just going to show you the installation here. Removal of the old ones is virtually identical. It's just a reverse step of the installation. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Let's get started. In your package, you're going to see a lot of small accessories, packs, different screws, that sort of thing. You don't want to lose any of this, especially when you're doing your installation of it. You're not going to use everything here, but you know, you want to try to keep up with it just in case something goes wrong or whatever. You know, if you had to take the entire kit back for some reason, you want to make sure that you have everything. These here are the door strikers. This is, you know, there's no really any particular order that you have to install this kind of stuff. So I just usually, whichever thing that I get to first, that's what I'm going to put in first. Now, something that I want to show you on these when you do install them, in the opening here, you see this little lip that's on the back. I usually like to try to press it over as far as I can to the front of that. You want to make sure that the striker is going to fit in the mortise properly. You know, that if it does not fit in the mortise properly, if there is any overhang, it can interfere with your door opening and closing. But you know, as I'd said, I do like having them move just a little bit forward. It seems to, for me, you don't have to push on the doors hard to get them closed. You know, if the door swells, depending on the kind of door you use, this of course is just a solid steel door. There's no windows, no nothing. But if you have it all the way back, and if there is any swelling in the door whatsoever, you may have to push real hard to get the door all the way closed. So you know, again, I'll just have them pushed forward very slightly. It's a good idea to pre-drill these holes, these screw holes. Basically set your striker up, mark it, pre-drill it, and then run your screws in. You want to make sure that you get your screws run all the way up, because if you don't, they can interfere with the closing of your door. Generally on a house, if you're going to put a deadbolt in, you're going to want to use some very long screws. That way you actually go back into the framing. It gives it just a little bit better support, a little bit better security. But for this application, just the standard screws are going to work fine. Again, make sure that the plate sets flush in the mortise so it does not interfere with your door. And once you get it in place, you can install your screws. The next thing that we're going to be installing is the latch. You want to pay particular attention to the orientation of this. You can see that angle that is on the latch, and what you want that angle to be is as the door closes, you want it to hit the striker plate. See if I can show you just a little bit better. Again, if the door was going to close, the lighting's not the best here, but you want to make sure that it would actually push that latch in as the door closes. And that is going to depend on the particular door that you have, whether it's a right-handed or left-handed door. But that's just the main thing, is to make sure that it is in the correct orientation. If you have it backwards, it's not going to close for you. It's just basically going to be hitting that, and it's not going to close. We're going to install it here. Simply, all you have to do, set it in place just like that. Again, make sure that it is flush in that mortise, and then just run your screws down. Run the first screw most of the way down. Take the second screw, run it in. And then you can tighten them up all the way. Just like that. Now that we have our latch installed, we're going to put the knob in place. Alright guys, as we put this in, you want to make sure that the two halves, the screw and everything, line up. If you start putting this in and for some reason it doesn't feel like that it wants to go all the way in, the problem could be the position of your lock. You know, if you have it rotated out of position just like that, if I rotate it to where it is in position, it'll actually drop down. So just like that. So be aware of that. Don't fight it, don't beat it up or anything like that. It should go in fairly smoothly. Of course, the interior portion is going to be facing in and the lock facing out. You might want to pay attention to the orientation of your key, depending on if you want it up or down. Some of these knobs, it will be governed by how it goes through this. You know, there are a particular way that some of these, sometimes that arbor will be offset from the screw holes, and it will only let you put it in one way. But what I like to do, just simply take the exterior portion, feed it through, get everything lined up. Just like that. Take our interior knob, rotate it, try to keep the screw holes halfway centered, get it close to where it needs to be, and just feed the screws in by hand. Try to hit the counterpart on the other side. You may actually have to slide the screw back slightly to get it to feed through and to be able to put it in and screw it down. Take your screws and just try to get them started by hand. You know, it'll take just a little bit of just wiggling it around a little to get them to line up sometimes. Just like that, and get the first one started. Make sure that you hit the screw hole, because it is easy to miss this and actually put it in kind of in an angle instead of actually putting it in through the hole the way that it should be. Don't cross thread it or anything like that. Don't force it. And that's where it's good to have a long extension on your drill. You can do this with a screwdriver, but it is a lot easier being able to just use the drill. Try not to scratch your door. Just easily run up one side. Don't run it all the way. Go to the other. Run it up. Do not over tighten these guys. If you over tighten it, it can interfere with the way that it functions. Okay? Test it out. So far so good. Check to make sure the lock works. So far so good. The next thing we're going to do is install the bolt for our deadbolt. Something that I want you to notice is how the bolt, these two, where the screw holes is, as well as the shaft that drives it, how that it is offset from the center. What this can play into, if you want to make sure that your lock is upright when you install it, it needs to match the bolt. As you can see here, this is also offset. Alright, if you put this in upside down, what you're going to end up having to do is you're going to have to turn your lock upside down to get it to match. It may not matter to some people, but it's just kind of one of my little pet peeves. So I want to make sure that I get that installed to where it is upright. Simply slip it into the opening, making sure that it is flush and the mortise. Now we can install the screws for it. Just like we've done previously. Just like we've done previously, take our screw, make sure that the lock is installed where it needs to be. Don't run the screw all the way up. The first one you install, just run it most of the way in, not all the way. And then run your second screw in. Make sure that it stays flush. Then we can tighten it all the way down. Just like that. Here's our two halves for the lock. Also, these screws here are a little heavier, a little bit better security. Note the orientation of this in relation to where this is. Simply slip it into place. Like that. Take the other side and you can see that it's offset as well. Make sure that you get it lined up properly. And again, do not force it. Slip it together. Now you may have to either rotate the lock in or out to get the screw holes to allow you to put them in place. You can see here, this lock does not want to go all the way in. Okay, the reason for that is this is rotated 90 degrees the wrong way, the opposite way that I need it to go. So I'm going to rotate that around, reinsert it. It's just a little bit of quick troubleshooting, guys. Something that you will run into when you put one of these in. Set my other half back into position. Now it's working freely. That's the way that it should. If it tries to bind up on you, just correct that and put it in the way that it's supposed to be to where it is operating freely. Line the holes up, hold the two halves together, start your bolts in. Again, it's going to take just a little bit of manipulation to get it to line up properly, but you will be able to tell once they start. Again, do not over tighten them. Run the first one in just slightly. Check the operation. If it's real stiff, you've probably got those screws too tight. Now it's time just to test everything out to make sure it works. Once you get everything done, time to test everything out. Make sure your deadbolt throws all the way, that it holds, that the lock works. Also be sure to test out your key. And there it is, guys. That's the basic steps in installing a doorknob. Now I want to tell you another thing too. If the door is not hung squarely, one thing that you can have is that the strikers, the holes will not line up perfectly. There have been occasions where I have put doorknobs on that on doors that were newly installed, new construction, that sort of thing, that it wouldn't line up just right. It would be just very close. There would be just a little bit of a lip catching the bolt or the striker. So slightly in a couple of occasions that I have just taken like a little Dremel and just trimmed out a little bit of that opening, and it had no problem whatsoever being able to close. Just to give you an example, like right now this one works fine, but say for example if it was not lined up perfectly, what it may do, just, you know, if the door, basically the same as if the door wasn't pushed all the way up. It's just going to go there and it's just going to hit that plate. Okay, it'll just be lined, you know, off center, either down or up just a little bit too high. Now you shouldn't run into that trouble if the door is hung properly, but occasionally it can happen. If it's a retrofit, if you're replacing a doorknob, you shouldn't have that trouble. On new construction, it is common to occasionally see that happen. And guys, this is just a quick video that I wanted to do. I will leave a link down in the description to a couple of different doorknobs, as well as some of the tools that I use, if you want to check those out. Again, guys, this is just a quick video. Let me know down in the comments, do you do your own handiwork around your house? If you're new to this, I'd really like to hear from you. You know, don't be ashamed, guys. Everybody has to learn somewhere. This is just a basic doorknob install in a building. So, but let me hear from you guys. Thanks for watching. Check out the links in the description. We'll see you next time, and have a good day.